Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So before we dive into this one, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all so much for 120,000 subscribers. That's a huge milestone for our community. Thank you all so much, and enjoy today's theory. The Mandalorian Chapter 20, The Foundling, finally gave us an answer to the long-burning question of who took Grogu from Order 66, what happened to him that night at the temple. Ahmed returned to the franchise as Kelleran Beq, a character he played in the Lucasfilm game show Jedi Temple Challenge, and Star Wars fans everywhere celebrated Ahmed's return after he got tremendously harsh backlash for his famous portrayal of Jar Jar Binks in the prequel trilogy. He suffered a lot mental health-wise in his personal life, but as a prequels fan, and I'm proud to say as a Jar Jar Binks fan, I was elated to see him back. He was a badass in this episode, and this man deserves, well, the best, if you pardon the pun. Now in this episode, as teased in the trailers, Grogu had a flashback to the night of the Jedi Temple during Order 66. Kelleran, also known as the Sabered Hand, saves him by using Jar Kai, double lightsaber action, against the 501st. The choreography was amazing, his lightsaber action was so cool, and the Coruscant sequence that followed was also insane. I broke it all down in my full review and episode breakdown, which I posted on Wednesday after the episode dropped. Go and check that out for the full details if you've not done so. But now, Star Wars fans are dying to know where Grogu was taken next. Where did Kelleran take him? By the way, in the same Nubian yacht that Padme uses in Attack of the Clones. The flashback ends just as it gets interesting. Kelleran and Grogu get into a Naboo starship and jump into hyperspace. Just before they did so, it was clear that Kelleran was working with Naboo, the security forces on that planet, and who fought against the Coruscant Guard, clone troopers, voiced by Tamara Morrison. The Jedi Master also mentions he's taking Grogu to some of his friends, which implies that maybe Kelleran saved some other younglings, maybe some other Jedi Knights, and he's got a hideout somewhere on Naboo. But I have a strong theory of who these friends really are and where he's taking young Grogu in those flashbacks. And I should mention as a precursor, this theory also explains why Kelleran is later separated from Grogu, why Grogu's mind goes dark, and why he's all alone, as Ahsoka tells us in Season 2. Now, as I say, the most enormous clue of what happens next are the many references to Naboo. I think Kelleran is from there, and as such, at this time, as we know from legends, before full Imperial occupation, it might have been a safe haven, a safe location to take a Jedi child. And a follow-up question, who would he be working with? Well, the most obvious answer to me would be those who are allied with Padme, who at the moment is off to Mustafar and trying to talk sense into Anakin. He chokes her, she gives birth, and then she dies. You know the story, you've all seen Revenge of the Sith. But even though Padme's about to die, allies associated with her are very important, and the most prominent of these would be the delegation of the 2000. Now, if you remember, my dear Mandalorians, before the Andor show dropped, I made a video about this group, because it pertains to Mon Mothma, who's part of it, and other senators who at this stage are afraid of the Supreme Chancellor now turned Emperor, and the amount of power he possesses. Given Padme's ties with them, it's also possible, and herein lies the main thesis of my theory, Kelleran was in conversation with the Queen of Naboo, Queen Apailana. This character was the Queen of Naboo at the time of Order 66, and we see her at Padme's funeral in Revenge of the Sith. She's also coincidentally played by Keisha Castle Hughes, who is currently voicing the scientist Emery Carr in The Bad Batch Season 2. So why do I mention Queen Apailana? Because I discovered something crazy in my research for this video. 1 year following Order 66, in 18 BBY, she was assassinated by the Empire for harboring Jedi younglings. I'm gonna say it again, she was assassinated for harboring Jedi on Naboo. And what did Kelleran Beq presumably just do? Take Grogu to Naboo. Let's just say, Queen Apailana did not like Emperor Palpatine. She made it known to her inner circle that if any Jedi survived on Naboo, they'd be welcome to remain there. She even sent out Jedi working undercover such as Kelleran Beq to rescue whoever they could. And what's crazy about this theory is that if they include Naboo, and therefore Queen Apailana, we're also going to see Boss Nass and Jar Jar Binks. They were still working alongside her at this time. And given that Jar Jar Binks is a senator, the one responsible for Palpatine's rise, he may have been the one to pull the strings and provide the ship. Now, while this information is partially legends, it's all documented in the 2006 novel, The Last of the Jedi, Death on Naboo, and it's crazy how many parallels might connect to The Mandalorian Season 3. So if this theory is correct, Grogu was taken to Queen Apailana, and when the Empire assassinated her, he was taken elsewhere. He was alone, afraid, and his mind goes dark. And I do believe there's a good chance we're going to see some of this in the show. That flashback is not over, and given that Keisha Castle Hughes is back at Lucasfilm for the Bad Batch Season 2, there is some chance she filmed a couple of scenes for The Mandalorian Season 3 in flashbacks. I predict that just like with Din Djarin's flashbacks in The Mandalorian Season 1, the rest of Grogu's memory is going to be saved for the Season 3 finale, Chapter 24, in 4 weeks' time. So a massive question to follow this up with: what would Queen Apailana do with Jedi survivors on Naboo? Well, you'd assume she'd hide them away and try and help them to live as normal a life as possible, unsuspecting and not drawing any suspicion. But there's a bit of a problem. This is Palpatine's homeworld. Eventually, as he ends up doing, he's gonna track them down, and maybe after Queen Apailana is assassinated, Grogu is turned in and used for cloning purposes, and that's why his mind goes dark. Maybe the evil Dr. Hemlock worked on him on Wayland. I just can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Let me know your thoughts on this theory in the comments down below, but I think Naboo is almost a given. This episode was incredible. The individual pieces of the season are there, they're not connecting just yet, but they are really building this up. Now I've got to say, of all the characters I expected to rescue Grogu or take Grogu, however you want to put it, I didn't expect Ahmed best. I did not expect Kelleran Beq, but when you really think about it, it's an excellent choice. This Jedi Master was known for protecting younglings, and that he did. Now, if a return to Naboo is in the cards for The Mandalorian and we do see Jar Jar Binks, I'd be over the moon. I've been pleading for the longest time, we need Gungans to return to the Star Wars universe in live action. I think they were a great species. I know they're a bit goofy, but imagine Jar Jar Binks in 2023 interacting with Grogu. That'd be adorable, but for those of us who grew up on the prequel trilogy, that would mean the world. It feels like with a lot of the prequel stuff that Disney puts out, it still feels like it's lacking. Even with the aliens, I think a lot of people at this stage, a lot of fans who were kids in the 90s and 2000s who grew up with the character would very much appreciate it, and they could change his demeanor. They don't have to make him as goofy and cheeky, they can make him a bit more serious. A character who's maybe more respectable, and they can change our perception of him. As they got Ahmed Best back, I can't imagine they didn't have a conversation about Jar Jar Binks. I'm sure it came up, and I really hope he plays him again. In previous interviews, like with Making Star Wars, he has expressed he still loves the character. Despite the backlash, despite everything he's been through, Jar Jar Binks still holds a very special place in his heart. Ahmed Best, welcome back to Star Wars, we love you. And so now, my dear friends, just a bit of very exciting news for the next episode. We're back to slightly longer ones. Season 3 Episode 5 Chapter 21 is 41 minutes and 3 seconds in length, so 10 minutes longer than Chapter 20. Not that it suffered, it's always quality over quantity. But as we now move into the second half of Season 3, things are really going to pick up in terms of pace, at least you'd hope. And one final thing, my dear friends, I put out a poll on the community tab asking you which is your favourite episode of The Mandalorian Season 3 so far. We're now halfway through, and at the time of making this video, Chapter 18 wins The Mines of Mandalore, the Mythosaur reveal. In second place, the Foundling, then the Convert, and then the Apostate in last place. Let me know in the comments down below which is your favourite episode of the first half of Season 3. So with that said, my dear friends, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts on my theory, share those in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.